Hi everyone, and welcome to Social Soda's Digital Era Diaries, the podcast where we break down all things social media, digital marketing and online culture. I'm your host, Chloe, founder of Social Soda, a social media marketing agency based in Carlisle and Cumbria. Whether you're a brand looking to up your online presence or just curious about the digital world, this is the place for you. On this episode, we're discussing a topic that I think will really resonate with a lot of you, being chronically online. It's a term that describes people who spend a significant amount of time online to the point where it influences how they think and act. And it opens up a really important conversation about how digital habits can shape our lives. To explore this, I'm joined by my amazing colleague, Social Soda's very own account manager, Clodagh Halliday. Clodagh, welcome to the show.
Hi, nice to be here.
So working in social media obviously makes this a lot more relatable for us. You have to be online all the time. It's a difficult balance between staying connected and too connected. So to start with, Clodagh, can you tell us a bit about your background and how you ended up working in social media?
Yeah, of course. So I've always been a really creative person. I've always been someone that's really driven by learning new things. And when I went to university, I actually studied a course in product design and innovation. So a little bit different from what I'm doing now. But throughout that course, I really learned about the product design process from beginning to end. And a big part of that process is the marketing and branding of products. So from that, I learned that that was something I really enjoyed. It really sparked interest for me and I was really good at it. So I basically just kind of developed my skills in that area. I worked for a few startup companies and I've since joined the Social Soda team. Which I love being part of the Social Soda team. So yeah, here we are.
Amazing. I will add, so Clodagh has worked with us for over 2 years now. And as she says, when she started, very much at assistant level and the progression has been unbelievable. So Clodagh very much leads all of our account work, is the point of go-to contact for our clients. And yeah, you know how much we love you here. So so I'm going to ask you a few more questions about what being chronically online means to you.
Yeah, of course. So I feel like the term chronically online, that's a relatively new phrase in the social media lexicon. But I think it's something that's really affected people from the beginning and the real takeoff of the internet. And when I think of the term chronically online, it's really a double-edged sword. It's a bit of a catch-22 situation. So if you're always online, you're always scrolling, you're always looking at the latest trends, then you're going to be the first to know about them. Your brand can react to them quickly, and that's really nice. And also, see if you're just out in public, maybe with friends, and someone makes an inside joke from a video that you've seen. It feels quite nice to be a part of that.
Yes, you're part of that kind of special club, aren't you, that knows the trend before anyone else, and you're talking in that trend's voice almost, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And it is like, I love that term, like a special club, because it does feel like you're part of a community. And I'd say the downside of it really is if you're spending all this time online, not only are you missing out on, real life in the real world, but also I found that people kind of end up developing almost a skill regression, because if you're watching all of the same content as other people, if you're talking about the same trends, you're mimicking your favorite TikTok noises, then you end up missing out on a big chunk of originality. Your vocabulary maybe isn't as great as it once was because you're just doing the same thing over and over again.
Right. And obviously your written skills as well. And those general personal skills have got to be affected. If you're being chronically online, then, the way you would write an email, for example, perhaps your language where you're writing just starts to become literally social media speak. So that's got to have an effect somewhere, really, hasn't it? And certainly a bulk of the work that we do, it does require, strong writing skills. So whether that could be affected negatively from chronically online behaviour will be interesting to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So you have a very varied role here at Social Soda. As you know, we're always spinning multiple plates. But Clodagh leads the research section of the business. So every week, Clodagh updates the team on what's happening in social media, the latest trends, updates, and culture as well. What's going on in the world that would be of interest to us. So that requires a lot of your time being spent online. Do you think that businesses can afford to not be online as much as you are?
This is a really great question because I think there is a really big sort of sense of FOMO when it comes to not being chronically online. Yeah, people are always worried about missing out on the latest trend. They don't feel like they're part of that special club, as we mentioned. But honestly, I think you really need to think about your brand and your audience. Because if the audience for your brand are not going to resonate with that kind of chronically online humor, then it might not be beneficial for your brand to engage in that. And also, well, at the end of the day, that's exactly what we're here for. You know, we're here to invest our time and keep up to date with all of this information and, you know, relay back to you and make sure that your brand is really getting something beneficial out of that.
Absolutely, because I think it's all well and good identifying the trends, but as you say, if it's not authentic for your business and if it's not something that your customers are going to relate to or be interested in, then there really is no point in just hopping on a trend for a trend's sake. And we see that all the time where, you know, brands will approach us and say that social media isn't working for them. And most of the time, it's exactly that reason that they've seen something and thought, we need to do our own version of that. We must hop on that trend immediately. And actually, it's not appropriate for their audience at all. It's not what they want to see. And they might have invested a lot of time. We know how much time it takes to create short form video. Really, it's a misleading name because short form video takes as long, if not longer than long form video sometimes. So I think there's got to be a balance there, hasn't there, about being aware of what's going on, but not necessarily hopping on every single trend out there just for the sake of it, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know as well, just your audience, they can become a little bit fatigued by it.
Yes.
As you say, it doesn't seem very genuine. And I think a lot of big brands can be quite guilty of this, where they will just hop on trends. You'll see them in TikTok comments of other brands' viral posts, you know, trying to hop on that and get some of that engagement for themselves and reap that reward. But people call them out on it.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
They let them know, that's for sure. So is there a brand that you've seen that you think has a chronically online approach to their social media marketing?
Yes, and I'm really glad you asked this. So
I know you feel excited about that.
So an account that I watch on TikTok is RSPB. And I know what you're thinking. RSPB are known as being the bird charity. And that's not very exciting. I feel like there's this stereotype of the type of people that are interested in that would be maybe an older generation, someone that goes out and does bird watching. But what they wanted to do as a charity was sort of re-engage and excite a younger audience and bring them in. And they thought the best way to do that would be to experiment with TikTok trends and things like that. So they have this weekly video that goes out called Bird of the Week, which again, that does not sound particularly exciting. But the way they do it, they have this sort of jazzy intro music. It sounds a bit like a game show. We've got all these different memes, kind of like the way I would describe it would be brain rot humor. I know that's a popular term at the moment.
Yeah, so explain what brain rot is for someone who might not have heard of it.
Absolutely. So brain rot encapsulates any sort of humor that if you were to say it outside of TikTok or outside of this realm of the internet, people would think that it was a little bit silly, a little bit strange.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So their videos really kind of dive into this and they really lean into that sort of humor. And because of that, they have had millions and millions of viewers, people repeatedly excited for this content.
Wow.
And yeah, it's just really cool. The fact that there's this bird charity from, you know, being chronically online has just created this whole new audience that they
and
didn't have
specifically on
before.
TikTok, which, as we know with TikTok, the age demographic for that platform is changing as the channel has grown, massively. There are suddenly, the young demographic there, absolutely, but also we're seeing an older demographic coming in, possibly because, as you say, they've become a bit fatigued maybe on some of the other flat platforms by the content there, and they're looking for something a bit fresher and a bit more unique, a bit more fun. So, it's interesting that because they've only applied that strategy to TikTok. Is that right?
Yes. So if you're to look at RSPB's LinkedIn or Facebook page, it's very different. It's a lot more factual. Everything's a little bit more clean cut, and that really resonates with their audience on those platforms. So again, that's something to really think about for your brand, that you might have a slightly different strategy on different platforms. And well, that's something that we think about when we're creating our content.
Absolutely. Yes. We look at, who are our audiences on specific platforms? What are they connecting with? Because what they engage with on one platform, they won't necessarily engage with on another platform. So it's about adapting our content, specific platform strategies, really, isn't it? Okay, so what are your 3 top resources for when you're doing your trend research and you're wanting to keep on top of the latest news in the digital industry?
Ooh, great question. So I would say that something that can feel really overwhelming for people is keeping up with trends on TikTok. If you're someone that is maybe not on there yourself, and you maybe don't want to dip your toes into that, but you maybe want your brand to be on there, I think a really great resource is Indie 100. They have a section on their website where they list every new TikTok trend.
Oh, I love it. That's a time saver.
I know, it's so good. Honestly, I use it myself.
Yes.
And it's really good because they'll also explain the trends so that you're not just going in blind, you're educating yourself, and if you're going to follow that trend, you're not just blindly following it. You actually understand it and know if it's going to be a good fit for your company. Another really great resource, I would say, I really enjoy Sophie from Pretty Little Marketer.
Oh, we love her newsletters. I think Clodagh always gets very, very excited when the newsletter goes out and all the different events that she does. And she's amazing. The business is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So what she does is she'll basically just, if something big is happening in social media or just in general in marketing, she'll put out posts on LinkedIn, just unpacking it and really giving you all the useful bits of information from that. So she's definitely someone to follow on there, and her content's really digestible. So yeah, absolutely love Sophie. And I'd say maybe my last resource, not to be a little bit biased, but I would say that we also do have our weekly updates.
Yes,
at Social
we
Soda.
do, Clodagh. Well done. Most important resource.
Yeah, so on there, we will always go over everything that's happening in social media, in marketing, and also just in pop culture. So if there's anything big going on that you could maybe hop onto, you could maybe make your content lean into a little bit, I think it's really useful just to keep up to date on that.
Definitely. Even kind of fun puns that might relate to that theme or that trend. You can do things in quite a subtle way, to show that you're up to date, but without being, overwhelmingly so.
Definitely.
So we know that being chronically online can have some effect on our well-being, all that screen time. So what do you do yourself to help balance that, to help cut back slightly on screen time?
So 2 things I'm going to go over. So the first one I would say, and I'm going to get this out of the way because it's what we're doing now, listening to podcasts. I don't know about you, Chloe, but I know if I'm maybe at the gym, on the treadmill, or if I'm, just doing some chores around the house, if I have a podcast on, it means that my brain's engaged, I'm not getting bored, but I'm also not watching a screen.
Absolutely. It's so healthy. Even for travel, that has become my go-to. It used to be, read a book or watch something on my phone or whatever. But now I find that quite tiring, actually. So for me, to just put a podcast on, to lose myself in that, as you say, it's entertaining. And I listen to podcasts on the most varied subjects, things I never thought I'd listen to on a podcast, but I do. And I find it so good and healthy.
Yeah, completely agree. I just feel like it's really enriching, definitely.
Yes.
And I would say my second tip might sound a little bit airy-fairy, but I think something that is so important when it comes to not being overly online is to actually tap into your inner child. Sounds a bit weird, but I think
Because I know you, Clodagh, I know that's actually not a weird thing that you've come out with. But yes.
so. What I mean by that, to explain to anyone else who does not know, I would say that think about things that you used to really enjoy when you were a child. Maybe you were really into arts and crafts. Maybe you really loved a bit of football. Maybe you had, I don't know, gymnastics, something like that. And I think it's really important to tap back into those old hobbies and things, because part of the addiction to social media kind of stems from that need for novelty. And when you're a child, you're really searching out that novelty by partaking in activities that just ignited joy within you. So when you're kind of revisiting these hobbies as an adult, you're going to spark that same joy, and it's really nice feeling, and it means that you're not constantly online because you're doing something that genuinely excites you.
Absolutely. And you're in the present, you're feeling it in the moment, you're not looking at it through a screen. I've started to now, so I have a 4-year-old daughter, as you know, called Storm, and I'm really trying to be as present as I possibly can be when I spend time with her. So whereas before it was a constant, phone in one hand, running around after her, kind of constantly battling those two things. Now I do put my phone, when I'm spending time with her, the phone goes away, the laptop goes away, and the TV's off. And we do things that I used to love when I was her age. So we'll read books together. We make jewelry together. She's got all these beaded sets. She has so much colouring in and drawing. And I find it really calming, actually. I really do, to just have the silence of both of us concentrating on whatever task it is that we're doing. And I absolutely love it. I find that time so precious. So, I think for me, that has been something, especially going into this year, that was a bit of a resolution of mine, is to, when I invest time with Storm, it is our time. There's no other digital devices. There's nothing else going on. It's just us doing things, as you quite rightly said, that I used to love when I was her age. And of course, then there was no phones and there was no, social media and internet and all those things. So, I think it's really, really important, because otherwise you do just burn out. It is just pure burnout. There is only so long we can stare at a screen without, getting headaches or just not quite feeling well, really. So there's got to be a balance there, hasn't there?
Oh, definitely, definitely. I mean, I think we've all heard of the term, comparison is a thief of joy. I know that a lot of people that are chronically online suffer from things like body dysmorphia, anxiety. Yes. And taking that time away, I know everyone hates to hear it, put down your phone, engage in reality.
I know, everybody hates that phrase. I know my husband hates that phrase when I'm like, just put down your phone, close your laptop, just be in the present, and just enjoy what's going on around us and go back to it fresh, right? I think especially as marketers, in our role, there is a lot of pressure now to kind of, as we say, keep up with the trends and actually there are other ways. We've identified some resources that you can use to keep up with trends. Well, that doesn't necessarily require you to be online every single second of the day. Maybe a daily check-in would be a better use of your time. And then thinking, as you say, well, how can I make that trend work for the business? Is it right for the business? Put some time into the planning, then go back and have a look at it, rather than just constantly comparing to other businesses or worrying that you haven't jumped on it quick enough. And it's taking a bit of time out for yourself to reflect on that, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, could not have put that better.
So, last serious question before we get onto our fun segment. What's one thing you think we need to all remember about our relationship with social media?
Great question. So, I am a firm believer that it's really important to keep in mind that right now, this moment in time, we have access to so much more information than we have ever had before. The amount of information that we process in one day is more than someone in the medieval times would process in an entire year.
Wow.
And so if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed by that, that's completely normal. That's not something to feel bad about or shameful about. You shouldn't feel like You need to be doing more. And at the end of the day, when you're feeling a bit overwhelmed, as we were saying, take a little bit of time back, step back a bit. That's what we're here for. We're here to guide you through that. The resources that we've highlighted in the podcast today, those are there so that you don't have to do that work and be chronically online.
Absolutely. And I think it's always important, we're a team of 4 people. We work really hard and we support each other. And I think, I always think now, for one person in-house in marketing, there is a lot of pressure on that. There is a lot of pressure on that one person trying to deliver. We know how much time our area takes to do and to research and do well. And we're 4 people supporting each other, and we'll bring in outside resources where we need. But I do think that, for very small marketing teams that are trying to manage it all themselves, where they might lose sight of that direction and feel that pressure and like they just have to run at, 90 miles an hour all the time, even if they want to come and have a chat with us, we're more than happy to do that, aren't we, Clodagh? Where you can just come in, sit with the team, we'll give you some direction, we'll give you some pointers, just ask us our opinion on something, because it's always good to have that validation, and just take some time out to really do that. And don't frantically worry about, scrolling all these other businesses online or influencers or whatever it is, to just try and keep up and find an idea. So I do think that's really important to remember. Okay, so now we're moving on to a fun segment. I have a little game of fact and fiction. So I'm going to tell you some social media stats, and I want you to tell me if you think they are fact or fiction. Some of them are amazing. So are you ready, Clodagh?
I think so.
Okay. The average smartphone user is scrolling through 300 feet of newsfeed content a day. So to put it in perspective, that is actually the height of the Statue of Liberty. Do you think that's a fact, or do you think it's fiction?
Oh my gosh. There's quite a spectrum. There's people like me who are quite chronically online and continuously scrolling.
Yes. And then there's the dipper and outers.
Dipper and outer. I'm going to say true for that one.
It is indeed a fact.
Ooh.
So, number 2, we spend 1 hour per day on social media.
You know what? Again, just for me personally, I feel like I'm a little bit more than that, which I'm quite ashamed of. I do definitely need to...
It's fine, it's your job.
Take my own advice and step back a little. I'm going to say that one's false. I think we spend a little bit more time than 1 hour.
Right, so it is fiction, correct. We actually spend 2 hours and 21 minutes a day, which phenomenally is 35 full days a year.
Oh my God.
So that just shows, doesn't it? That's over a month a year that we're spending on social media.
Wow.
So I do think, with that in mind, there's definitely a case for just taking a breather, digesting, taking a step back, and definitely doing some of those suggestions that you had to avoid being chronically online. Okay, number 3. 5.24 billion people around the world are on social media. Fact or fiction?
I'm going to say fact.
It is indeed a fact. So in the past year, over 256 million new users joined social media. That's the fastest growth year since social media started in the 90s. So,
oh my goodness.
Yes. Okay, 4th. On average, each month, social media users will spend 24 hours on TikTok.
And each month. I do know that TikTok, the algorithm is really quite addictive.
It is the fastest moving algorithm I've ever seen.
This might be the first one I get wrong, but I'm going to say true.
It is fiction.
Ooh.
The actual answer is more. It's 34 hours and 56 minutes of compulsive use on social media, on TikTok.
Oh my goodness.
It's crazy, but as you say, that the algorithm moves unbelievably fast on TikTok. It is like nothing we've seen. The minute you start watching a series of videos, that's it. They are in your feed to watch more and more and more. It hooks you. It's that all immersive, you can't put it down experience. So how many conversations do we have each day about what we've seen on TikTok the previous day or night?
Too many.
And too many weird ones as well. Okay, your final one. Almost half, so 49% of 0 to 2-year-olds interact with smartphones.
I know this is quite a controversial one because
very controversial.
There's very much that term out there of being an iPad baby, a child that is, consistently online. I'm going to say hopefully false.
Unfortunately, it is a fact.
Oh
it
my
is absolutely
gosh.
true. So 49% of 0 to 2-year-old children interact with smartphones.
That's quite concerning.
Yes, crazy.
Right.
So there we go. So they are actually, when I read on about that survey more, most of them haven't been read a book or seen a book in that age. They have just interacted with smartphones. So
it's honestly such an ever-evolving, changing world.
It
I feel
really
like
is.
when I was a kid, maybe I was addicted to my Nintendo DS or Tamagotchi, but clearly
but
it's
nothing
screens.
like that. It is screens. Same. We had Tamagotchis. That was a very exciting thing. I'm a little bit older than Clodagh, but Tamagotchi was massive. Furbies, massive. Baby. I used to play with babies and dolls and all that kind of stuff. And, you
I'd say
know,
it means so much simpler.
very
but,
simple. Yeah. The minute the snow fell, that's it. You're out in your sledge, playing in the street and all those things. I mean, I did used to love watching Disney films on TV. Like we had a VCR, and getting a new video was super exciting to me. But otherwise, as you say, it was those back to basics, old school toys. Loved it. Played outside in the air all the time. I mean, I grew up in Newcastle, so it was always freezing cold and raining, but we were still out there every day. And yeah, I mean, who would think now that, as you say, we are raising iPad babies? So
I mean, again, maybe we're
Yes.
looking at it through rose-tinted glasses, because I know at the time I would have been freezing cold when my mum told me to go out and play, like in Scotland growing up.
yes,
But-
you win, Clodagh. Growing up in Scotland.
But at the same time, God, I do miss it.
I know, absolutely. So thank you very much.
Ooh, here we are at the end. No, it's been fabulous. Thank you.
Sadly, that's all we have time for today, but what an amazing conversation. Today, we've unpacked the highs and lows of being chronically online and, of course, explored some amazing tips to balance it all. Clodagh, thank you so much. You've been an absolute star, and thank you to all of our listeners. We hope you enjoyed today's episodes, and if you did, we would love your support. You can subscribe to our channel so you never miss an episode, leave your thoughts in the comments below, and share this episode with someone you think might be interested. So we'll see you next time for a brand new episode.